Okay, now we are on to Lively's opposition to Wayfarer's motion and limine number 14, which is to preclude speculative evidence about the use of bots. And that's kind of been a really important point, right? Because it is speculation. She hasn't actually proved anything about bots. Even the text messages that she claims, prove the smear campaign, right? So the text messages between people like Melissa Nathan, Jen Abel, Jed Wallace, even they say they are not using bots. They expressly state, there are no bots. They don't use bots. They told Justin Baldoni there is no bots. So there's not even just no evidence. There's actually negative evidence of any bots. And what Wayfarer is saying is, well, any testimony that she wants to give, any evidence that she wants to give, any expert that she wants to proffer is all speculative. If they try and say Wayfarer were using bots, because there is not a shred of evidence that actually proves they were using bots. So let's see how Lively spins this. Defendants seek to exclude certain deposition designations and exhibits as speculative musings by Lively and others about defendants' use of bots, contending this evidence is unfairly prejudicial, hearsay, and amounts to speculative lay opinion. First, Lively does not seek to admit this evidence for the truth, like everything else. Lively does not seek to admit this evidence for the truth that defendants were using bots. Likewise, defendants cannot use their own statements and communications for the truth that they were not using bots. I disagree. If they are having contemporaneous conversations and Justin Baldoni is saying, we're not using bots, are we? And the response he gets from any of the PR people is, no, we're not using bots. I actually think they should be allowed to use that because it's a defense and it's contemporaneous, right? And I'll just remind everyone, Lively wants the fact that she sent messages to, other cast members or Warren Zavala saying, he was mean to me. He called me sexy. He asked my trainer about my weight. She wants to say that the fact that she sent those messages means that they can go on the stand and testify to the fact that, their opinion is Lively was harassed. So she's being unfair here, which is nothing new. Lively seeks to use the relevant communications and testimony to show the recipient witness's mental impressions at the time, including to the extent defendant's motion extends to live testimony, that of Lively, i.e. how she was experiencing the retaliation and that individuals were sharing the experience of seemingly inauthentic social media attacks that appeared instantaneously and out of nowhere. So she's saying, well, something dodgy was going on, so I want to be able to submit this speculative evidence as not as proof that it was going on, but just that, we believed it was going on. I would be shocked if Lyman allowed this. It would be prejudicial and completely irrelevant, in my opinion, because she has to prove that she had a reasonable basis for believing that she was sexually harassed, not that she had a reasonable basis for proving that she was retaliated against. I mean, it helps, I guess, if she can prove that, but the reasonable basis, the reasonable good faith belief is around the actual sexual harassment. So she doesn't need to show that, in her head where all kind of wonderful and weird things live, she believed that, well, there was very strange things going on social media. It has to be bots. Defendants, in turn, may cross-examine plaintiff's witnesses on that impression, and they may elicit testimony from their witnesses on the subject. No, because you just don't need to put them on. I feel like you're wasting time here on something that is irrelevant and unproven. But they cannot exclude evidence about what witnesses were perceiving and experiencing based on a lay opinion that plaintiff is not even trying to establish. I disagree. Second, the evidence defendants seek to preclude does not require any lay witness to offer a technical opinion that a bot or botnet existed, or to attribute any inauthentic activity to defendants. Any expert testimony regarding digital inauthenticity or attribution will be offered through Dr. Maislin and Dr. Carlotta. Instead, any lay witness testimony and documentary evidence at issue uses bots as a common shorthand to describe suspicious, seemingly automated online activity as it was personally observed in real time started in August 2024. So she's literally trying to change the definition of the word bots. She's literally trying to change the definition of the word bots. Right, we all know what bots mean in the digital kind of sense. Yeah, it's like, kind of an automated, I'm not technical here, but like an automated process or automated system where you are kind of creating false followers, false posts that just repeat themselves, and we can kind of spot them. We're getting better at spotting them these days, although they are becoming, more and more kind of elaborate. But to say that, no, I don't mean that type of bots. When I say bots, what I mean is, well, it's a common shorthand to describe any suspicious activity, seemingly automated online activity, seemingly automated. I mean, what's the definition of that? Anyone who disagrees with her? Yeah, just don't like this. I hope Lyman says no. This evidence grounded in personal perception. If it's personal perception, how can she have a bunch of her friends come up and say, yeah, I saw it too? This evidence grounded in personal perception is admissible under Federal Rules of Evidence 602 and 701. As noted, any dispute regarding what specifically caused the observed online activity is appropriate for cross-examination, not categorical exclusion. Third, this evidence is highly relevant. Proving the point, defendants have identified numerous documents for inclusion on their own exhibit list regarding bots. These reflect, among others, reference to bots in connection with acknowledgement of the public conversation regarding Baldoni, Wayfarer's knowledge of digital services performed on their behalf, and Nathan's prior associations with digital services on behalf of clients. I mean, she's quoting here a message where Nathan literally addresses why we don't use bots and denying using bots. Defendants cannot simultaneously rely on these bot-related communications to advance their narrative while precluding percipient witnesses and documents describing personal observations of the digital environment during the alleged retaliation period, given the substantial probative value of this evidence, including to show state of mind and damages. Rule 403 does not warrant exclusion. Fourth, defendant's request is premature. Defendants cite no federal rule or authority in support of their assertion that this evidence is hearsay, and their argument is premature given their failure to identify the universe of deposition testimony or documents at issue, and to explain, document by document, why each is inadmissible and why any hearsay exception would not apply. Defendant's request is similarly premature because the court cannot determine in limine what foundation will be laid at trial for each witness's personal knowledge and the purpose of each piece of evidence that Lively will seek to admit. I mean, yeah, that point on its own is a reasonable point. It's hard to say who's going to say what about their personal knowledge and how they're going to lay foundations. So I do think it should be excluded, though, from the outset as a general. And then if the door becomes open during trial, at that point there should be sidebars to discuss whether the opposing party can get into it. But I don't think that library should be given a blanket, you can start and go into court allowed to do this, and then if it becomes, if it crosses lines, then we'll, exclude it or stop you. Okay. So the next video is going to be number 15. There's 19 motion limine, so we are not too far from the end of this now. So the next video is going to be motion limine number 15, which seeks to exclude evidence concerning the following irrelevant topics. And I think we go through the topics in the actual motion. So stay tuned.